Let's start today then in New South Wales. 10 new cases. What's happening there?
Yeah, 10 new cases, which is a pretty big number, Ros, in New South Wales, but 6 of them in hotel quarantine. They're overseas travellers. Sometimes you get a big batch of these at once. So just 4 cases today locally acquired, a little bit higher than the last couple of days, but often remember Mondays and Tuesdays are a bit lower. So, you know, broadly consistent with what we're seeing. But a couple of interesting things out of those cases. 1, 3 of them linked to the Concord Emergency Department cluster that's been uncovered in a healthcare setting. The 4th case actually linked to the Sydney CBD cluster, which hasn't been growing very quickly lately, but this one, this case was a close contact of someone in that cluster. They isolated for the 14 days since they were potentially exposed to the virus, tested negative, were released, and have since developed symptoms and tested positive. This is one of those cases where the incubation period is a little bit longer than the recommended isolation time, which is a small percentage, but it does happen from time to time. So a good reminder of just how long this virus can linger in the community, and because so because of that, we're still seeing sort of this low level of locally transmitted infection. One other quick comment on New South Wales is just on the unknown sources, mystery cases in New South Wales, because several other states are watching New South Wales at the moment, including South Australia, the Northern Territory, which has already sort of announced a plan to reopen the border to Sydney-siders, and Queensland obviously is watching New South Wales. It looks like there's been a little bit of reclassification. Some investigations have found links, and New South Wales is now saying there haven't been any unknown source cases in a full week. So that is, getting to be a decent amount of time. Hopefully that holds, and we start to see a period of, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks with no community transmission. We have seen it once before. New South Wales got to about 15 or 16 days from memory. Don't quote me, but a sizable amount of time. Hopefully we might be in a world where we can start to see those sorts of stretches with no mystery cases again. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. To Victoria now then, Casey, and the case average has fallen below 50 for the first time. Is it possible to judge from here how long it'll stay below that line?
Well, I mean, hopefully forever, but let's not count our eggs before they've, hatched. 50, that is the yellow worm's gone below that red target line of 50 today for the first time. What does that mean in the short term? Well, probably not a whole lot, but this was a trigger point, a threshold for the government to consider taking that next step on the roadmap, indicatively not before the 28th of this month. And it does sound like the Premier wants to see this line stay below 50 for a little bit longer before they make moves in Melbourne. Unfortunately, this is probably the easiest target to reach. The next one, 5 cases a day, will probably take a bit longer. And why is that? Well, obviously we're still a long way away from it, but we're also seeing fairly flat case numbers for about a week or so. 42 today. The good thing is Wednesday is often the biggest day of the week, so 42 is actually a decent result, but we're not seeing big drops in cases, as you wouldn't expect when the numbers to get this low. So we'll be tracking the progress of the 14-day average in Melbourne and Victoria as a whole, which we'll start tracking soon. And I'll be watching it against the progress that New South Wales made against this same on this same 14-day average back in wave 1. That is the only other state that's had locally acquired cases as high as this. It took New South Wales about a month to get below 5. We'll watch this yellow line to see if Melbourne can do it faster, Victoria can do it faster.